Hello and welcome to NARC Live on Wednesday the 7th of April 2021, coming to you live from Norfolk on the east coast of England with Tammy M0TC.
Hello.
And me, David G7RP. Great to see you. On tonight's show, we find out the importance of grounding and bonding with Tim K3LR live from the United States. Could you run an International Marconi Day station from your shack? And we find out who works from a shack like this. Have you any ideas online? If you haven't entered, we've had a few entries by email, but just time to get those onto Facebook or onto BATC, and we'll include them when we get through to it. But first, club news. Now, next Wednesday, a very important day for the club because it's our annual general meeting, but that comes straight after a mini version of this, NARC Live. But the AGM coming straight afterwards is for NARC members, and nominations are still open to vote for the club's nominated charity, and they're open until Saturday night. The choice is between the Guide Dogs for the Blind Association and the East Anglian Children's Hospice at Quidnam. And all members who've signed up for the newsletter should have already received details of how they can vote online. Now, if you haven't received one of those, please drop us an email to the usual address, radio@dcpmicro.com. The annual general meeting itself you'll be able to join it by video and microphone if you like by GoToMeeting, or you will be able to just watch it in the usual way on BATC, but we won't be going out to Facebook because an AGM is a fairly private affair, so it won't be going on Facebook. But we'll give you all those details in the newsletter if you're a NARC member. If you're not signed up for that, then try and sign up by the weekend. You can sign up on the newsletter or drop me an email with your details, and we will send you the information on how you can join in with the AGM next week. Now, we've had a few notices from Malcolm, G3PDH. This Saturday, the 10th of April, is the date for the next sked with our friends in Koblenz. As usual, it will take place at 10 o'clock BST on Saturday with 7.135 megahertz approximately on SSB. All are welcome to join, and a listening watch is maintained on VHF 145250 for anyone having troubles in directly accessing the HF net. Now, how do you fancy a Rolo on Sunday night, Tammy? Do you fancy
Definitely.
a Rolo?
Yeah, I love Rolos.
It's not those sorts of Rolos, unfortunately. It's SSB contesting. For those that enjoy SSB contesting, there's a tricky RSGB Rolo, which stands for Rolling Locator, contest on Sunday evening. This involves passing on the previous received QTH locator to the next station, which can give rise to lots of potential confusion. But anyway, you can read the rules carefully, and if you fancy a challenge, and it's not going to get much warmer, I don't think, by the weekend, and after appropriately setting up your contest software, NO1MM, check it out with dummy data to make sure it's doing the right thing. That's advice from Malcolm there. And finally, on Monday, the 12th of April, it's the next leg of the Club Championship contest with CW. Whilst we're narrowly beaten into second place in the last SSB, it's hoped that we can enter our usual high volume of logs and open our overall lead a little bit further in the Club Championships. Now, the RSGB is delighted to launch a new award that is designed to celebrate the friendship of amateur radio over the airwaves. Radio amateurs are encouraged to exchange the four-letter identifier of their club and accumulate points for each qualifying QSO. Through this, you can gain the award. However, the main purpose of the award is to contact other people in a friendly and non-competitive way, connecting with them rather than simply making a quick QSO and moving on like you would in a contest. Now, if you're not a club member, but you're a member of the RSGB, you can also use the RSGB identifier RSGB. And there'll be monthly and annual awards for individuals, clubs, and the highest scoring club in each region. The point system is simply an encouragement to get on the air, represent your club, and have a chat with radio amateurs across the airwaves. The award is part of the RSGB NHS Get on the Air to Care campaign, and the Society hopes that the Friendship on the Air award will continue to support the radio amateur community as restrictions lift in the coming months. Now, to find out more about how to take part, you can see that's part of the page on the internet and the website at the moment, but you can find out more by looking at rsgb.org/friendship-award. That's in the top right hand corner of that slide. Now, on Monday, the 12th of April, Tammy and I are involved again in producing another Tonight at 8 webinar for the RSGB. And we thought you'd like to know that this coming Monday at 8 o'clock, it's live, and it's all about the Nano VNA. If you've seen these very small, low-cost VNAs that you can buy from Amazon and eBay and the like, and you fancy getting one but not really sure the differences because there are quite a lot of differences in costs, we're going to find out lots more details from Alan Wolf from the States, and he'll be joining the webinar live at 8 o'clock on Monday night. And you can find out more details by looking at rsgb.org/webinars. And finally, I'd just like to tell you about Marconi Day. Now, it won't surprise you to know that International Marconi Day, which is on Saturday, the 24th of April, we can't do it by meeting and going to Caister Lifeboat Station as we usually do. But the organisers have agreed this year with Ofcom that we can run special event station, we can enter, and you'll be able to do that from your home. One of the main conditions, unfortunately, is that you have to be a full licence holder, as you would have to run a station like that in normal circumstances. So if you are a full licence holder and you are interested in running that, you're going to find out much more details either by looking at our website, or next week, just before the AGM on the mini NARC Live, we've got Steve G0KYA, who is the organiser of this event for Norfolk Amateur Radio Club, and he'll be joining us to tell us more about GB0 CMS and how you can get involved. So we're looking forward to that. Well, that's the club news, and as we always do this time, I hand over to Tammy for her Little People. I haven't seen it.
No, you haven't.
I just see it in a tiny screen
well,
in the corner there for the first time.
Well, the Little People is a little bit self-indulgent this week, and it is actually the Little People for today, ironically, which I don't normally do. Okay. But I saw this and thought, it's just,
let's see it.
I've got to show it.
Oh.
So this is a stationary skeleton. So it's a dinosaur made of stationery. And when I was young, I wanted to be an archaeologist, as you do, because you have all these grand ideas when you're a child.
All you managed to dig up was me.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
I've always been into dinosaurs.
Yeah, all right. I shouldn't have said that, should I? So look at that. We've got a stapler there. We've got a little bulldog clip, a little sellotape reel.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Just cool.
It's clever,
I thought it was really good today. So
that is really good, isn't it?
You
dug that one up. Yeah.
I did dig that one up, yeah.
Okay, and then paperclip. Look, he's got a paperclip in the top left.
Yep.
All right. So if you want to see this or any others for yourselves, then you can look at that website at miniature-calendar.com. Yeah, brilliant stuff. So what have you been doing? Let us know, always by sending us an email to this address, radio@dcpmicro.com. Gets you to us and keeps in touch with your other members of the club who watch this every week. Now, this time every week for however many weeks it is now, I've lost count.
This is number 54.
54, right.
Yep.
We've been looking at other people's shacks and we've invited you to send your shacks in. We are really nearly out now. I've only got 2 left, I think. So if you have waited all this time and you want to feature your shack on this competition, please send it to that email address this week. Anyway, let's have a look at the shack that we showed you last week. Who works from a shack like this? Have we had any guesses online?
No, I have just been having a look. I don't think we have got any online guesses.
Okay, all right. Well, I thought there were some fairly easy clues there. We have had 3 guesses online. Do you want to, as it's your brother, do you want to read the first one?
Yep, my brother, Kevin, M0UJD, can't even say his call sign. I'm going for Ralph, 2M0RHT.
Oh, by the way, I should have told you as well, the clue that I gave online with this is the manufacturer of the computer, the model of the computer. Is that a clue? Anyway, Mark G0GJ says, hi Dave and Tammy, I think the shack is Ralph 2M0RHT.
And Colin M0GMK, inspired by my glass of scotch, I think this week's shack belongs to Ralph 2M0RHT.
So, press that button, Tammy, and tell us whose shack this was.
That it is Ralph.
It was.
All the way from Scotland.
All the way from Scotland. Now look at the clues there. They had that Glenmoray.
Glenmoray.
Is that a good Scotch?
I don't know. I don't like Scotch.
No, I'm not a fine man. And also, though, Ralph did tell us that the mug next to it, if you could see that close in, was an anatomical mug. And of course, he's a doctor as well. So anyway, Ralph, thank you for sending that. Thanks to all those who entered as well, and congratulations, you all got it right. So let's have one of those final shacks. Let's see who works from a shack like this. Now, any ideas?
No drinking site this week.
No. That will please Roger though, because he sometimes comments, that there's no key. Well, there is a key here, look, in the middle, a paddle. It looks like an Ellicraft K2, I think. Not that I'm an expert of these things, but it looks like an Ellicraft linear amplifier on the right of that as well. Anyway, do you know who runs a shack and works on these radios? Have you got any clues? I'm not going to give you any more clues than that. See if you know who runs this. This is a club member, as always. Let us know. By 3 o'clock next Wednesday is the deadline, to the usual address. Here it is, radio@dcpmicro.com. Let us know whose shack you think that is. We'll be putting that picture on our Facebook page and on the club's website in the next couple of days, of course. And you've got until Wednesday, 3 o'clock, to let us know. Just to finally now go into what's happening next week on the at the club. We've obviously got this Saturday, we've got the Koblenz Sked. On Sunday, we've got the GB2RS News at 7 o'clock. On Monday, the 12th of April, we've got the Monday Night Net hosted by Steve G3EVA. And his suggestion for subject this time is, what type of youth were you? Were you, for example, mod, rocker, punk? Tammy?
I wasn't any
I don't
of
know
them.
this. No, I wasn't any of those, I don't think. I've done the odd mod in my life, but that's all about radios and things like that. So whatever type that, anyway, that's the subject on the Monday Night Net. And also at 8:30, we've got 80 metre CW net, of course, as well. And next Wednesday, the 14th of April, as I mentioned earlier on, we have a mini NARC live, because I know lots of people like to watch this first. So we're going to do a mini one of those. And then straight after that, we'll have a short break, and then we'll go straight into the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club AGM, which is just for members, if you don't mind. And you'll be able to join us by video on GoToMeeting or BATC. As I said, let us know if you'd like details, if you don't already get the club newsletter and a member. And all the regular features as well, do send them in to this address, radio@dcpmicro.com, for anything for the show, and we look forward to hearing from you. Also, I will mention this card, of course, which we're very happy to send. We sent another one this week. If you know anybody who would be cheered by a card from your club, then we'll be very happy to send this wherever they are in the world, and we have sent a couple abroad as well. Just send us the details of their address and to that email address on the screen there, and we'll be very happy to send a card, sign it from you, and also from Tammy and me and everybody indeed in the club. That's our news, and thank you very much for joining us. Now we're on to our main event, and it's a real pleasure to welcome back someone who's becoming an old friend of the club, really, because he's been on here several times. It's all the way to West Middlesex in Pennsylvania to talk to Tim Duffy K3LR. Tim, good evening.
Well, thanks for good evening, and hello from the United States and from my shack here at K3LR, and thanks so much, David, and to all the club members for asking me to come back and present. So tonight we're going to talk about grounding and bonding, and this is a very important topic. There is an ARRL book, Grounding and Bonding for the Radio Amateur, that was written by Ward N0AX, and it's available through the ARRL, and also I believe the RSGB carries the ARRL books, and I've been an RSGB member for 28 years now.
Wow.
And so I'm very familiar with, I love Radcom, absolutely the best ham radio magazine on the planet, and I look forward to getting that every month here. So
it's great. You know, just say, Tim, sorry, just to interrupt you just for a moment, and to tell everybody at home, as we always do, that Tim is here live, as I'm sure you can tell, and you'll be able to ask him questions at any time during his presentation or straight afterwards. So if you have any questions for Tim whilst he's talking, please don't hesitate to ask them either on BATC or on Facebook. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Tim. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, David. I do want to point out that some of this presentation is designed around the United States electrical system. So you will see some references to 240 volts and some references to 120 volts. But so just be aware that there are some differences. But the idea is really about how important it is to bond your station together. And so I'm going to talk about some lightning protection. I'm going to show you some techniques, and then I'm going to leave you with some resources too. So this really is for just about any radio amateur. If you're just starting out, maybe you're putting up your first antenna, and if you're trying to get some better performance. And there are, I'm certain that the RSGB has some reference books as well, but the second one on this list, Grounding and Bonding for the Radio Amateur, is really, really good. And of course, the aerial handbook is good, and there are various standards books as well. And then there's lots of information on the internet. And so one of the things is, radio amateurs ask, what is grounding? And it is really important that you understand how this bonding and grounding works. Safety is very important here, and making your equipment work properly is important as well. And the thing is that ground can be a noun, it can be a verb, it can be an adjective. We think of it as an earth connection, and it's also a reference potential, and it's also a type of connection, such as a ground conductor or a ground system. And there is no such thing as RF ground, and ground loops can be an issue, but it's not the problem you think it is. And single point ground, we're going to focus a lot on that. And do remember that the earth is not a magic sink in which you can just pour RF you don't want or lightning and expect it to magically and safely disappear. It just doesn't work that way. And bonding, we're going to spend a lot of time on bonding here this evening. It is really intended to keep 2 points at the same voltage. It's not expensive. It's not hard. It does require the right connecting materials and hardware, and it really helps when it comes to your power safety, lightning protection, and managing your RF system. And for bonding to work properly, it has to have low impedance, and it has to be short at the frequencies of interest. Anything more than 8 feet on 10 meters is not a good bond. You have to have very short, heavy conductors that are sturdy enough to survive the environment. And I used lots of heavy strap, heavy wire, and also tin copper braid. And you only want to use the tin copper braid inside. It will deteriorate outside, and braid from old coax deteriorates very fast because the copper is exposed. And before we go any further, I want to talk about safety. And safety is so important. And again, if I present something here this evening that doesn't seem right from an electrical standpoint, please check with a licensed electrician, somebody who does this professionally, before you go any further. So what goes on locally is very, very important. And here in the United States, we have a whole series of books on how to do the electrical code. And AC power grounding is very important. Here in the United States, it's called the third wire ground or green wire ground, and it provides a path for the AC, common point for fault currents, and it stabilizes the AC power voltage. And here is a very simple representation of how in the United States the utility supplies power from a transformer. They have very high voltage. It goes down to 240 volts. It's a center tapped transformer that has its center grounded, and so it comes in as the neutral, and then there are the two hots. So 240 volts comes into the box, and there's only one main bonding jumper between the neutral and ground, and then the ground goes to the grounding electrode. And so here's a good way to ground. I don't like using the clamps. I like the photo there, which is exothermic grounding. or bonding to the ground rod. That's an exothermic weld on top of the ground rod. And that's number 2 tin copper wire. And then you see here, this is bonding all of the grounds together. And you want to keep lightning from going inside your house with the air terminals, etc. You want to help it make good decisions. Inductance is more important than resistance. Paths should be outside your residence, and don't make it easy for lightning. This is not the way you want it. You don't want to bring your tower ground into the shack to pick up the other grounds. You want to keep it outside so it looks like this. And you see the earth rods there connecting from the lightning protector from the tower, etc. But everything is outside the house. And if you are fortunate enough to have a tower, this is the way it should be grounded. We have 13 towers here at K3LR, and they are all grounded just like this. And it's important to bond the outside shields, the feed lines to the tower. And if you have a vertical antenna, you can use a spark gap. This single point ground panel, very, very important. You can see this is where all of the telco, lightning protector from the antenna, etc., are all together. And then you see at the bottom of this single point ground panel, which happens to be copper, the connection to the perimeter ground system, and then also a connection to the RF ground plane underneath the radio. And so here's some lightning protection equipment made here in the States. And here's another single point ground panel. This is made up of aluminum and some copper. And you can see all the connections to the earth rod. Another shot at that, those small blue items are gas discharge tubes, or GDTs.
That's for lightning, isn't it, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
To arrest lightning, okay.
And here's another view of another station with all the filters mounted on the single point ground panel. And so all of the common and bonded ground connections have to be together on one plane, and then you bond the equipment within the station. Here is the strap going back to the single point ground panel, and then connections from each one of the pieces of equipment. And you can use half-inch copper pipe. Remember that everything in your station is an antenna. Every piece of wire, I don't care if it's a USB cable, if it's a mic cable, if it's a cable to your CW key, they all are an antenna. And so you have to be very, very good about making sure that you have things bonded properly. We're going to concentrate on bonding, and we're going to equalize the voltage to minimize the current. This eliminates hot spots. It reduces RFI, reduces any audio buzz and hum that you hear on some stations. These are interconnecting cables between all the equipment, amplifier, radio, maybe a tuner. We want to keep the cables together and minimize the loop area. Here you see the RF ground plane underneath the radio, and then the bonding copper in the back, and all of the connections. So I use RF ground planes here at K3LR. We sell them at DX Engineering, and it has made a tremendous difference in how things work. Things are much more predictable, and the bonding has paid off. Ground system, remember that all currents flow on all wires, and there are requirements here for AC safety, lightning protection, and RF management. Again, the single point ground panel, the SPGP. That's where all of the cables and the bonding bus connects to it. And so there's one point, and then that connects to the outside perimeter ground system. Again, the single point ground panel, and that is the where everything is bonded to from the radio perspective, as well as the AC safety ground. And so there are lots of resources on the internet. So if you don't want to buy any of the books, there's plenty of information on the internet. And here is just some of them, just in standards documents and on grounding and bonding, lots of great information. And again, some more books. Also, the ARRL.org website has a lot of information. And David, that is my presentation. So we can take any questions.
Okay, all right. That was a little quicker than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. So I haven't been asking people at home yet, but if you have any questions for Tim, he's going to stay with us a little bit longer, just in case you've got any questions. I've got one question. By the way, just to tell you at home, just ask them away here on Facebook or on BATC, wherever you are. You mentioned obviously the differences maybe between the voltages in the States and in the UK and in Europe indeed, and anywhere else anybody might be watching this. Are the standards pretty universal, do you think?
Well, I think the safety standards are, David. I think they really are. But for instance, in Europe, 240 volts runs everything, not just amplifiers. Here in the States, we run amplifiers off 240, and everything else runs on 120. So there is that difference.
Yeah, and one of the things is that's slightly different is that we do have two different earthing systems here in houses. A lot of the modern houses are a thing called PME, and a lot of the traditional houses are just the neutral is bonded, or the negative of the mains is bonded to earth. That's caused some controversy in recent years. If you're a radio amateur and you buy and move into a fairly modern house, I don't know. Do you have a problem like that in the States?
You can. Neutral and ground are two different things, and they only are bonded together in our electrical panels at the main panel. I have many sub panels that are off that main, and you do not bond the ground and the neutral. And these amplifiers all have 4 wires. They have the 240 volts, they have a neutral, and they have a ground. So there are some revisions that have gone on along the way.
Okay. We have had one question so far. It's from Peter Bishop. I'm not sure if he's licensed, but he's asked a question. Would this be good for radio scanners? In other words, just receivers?
Well, yes. I think the scourge really, Dave, is noise. And there's a lot of noise in a house, with the new LED lights, with wall wart power supplies, etc. So using even ferrite and proper grounding on anything would be advisable.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you mentioned these wall warts. They used to be good old linear transformers, just old-fashioned, but they didn't make much noise. But of course, most of the power units now are switch mode, so they do create a lot of noise, don't they?
Yes, they do. And you won't find any of them here. This is all linear. Everything's linear.
I must mention your shack as well, because everybody would instantly know whose it was now, but it would be lovely to have featured that in our Who's Shack competition that we've run for quite some time now, because we're quite used to seeing virtual backgrounds on screens, but yours is quite something. I don't know if we can see a full screen of that again. It's worth pointing out that everything behind you is really there, isn't it? And how many of those did you say you have at your K3LR station?
Yeah, these are the 2 80-meter stations. So there's 2 ICOM transceivers here, and 2 amplifiers here, and so this is 2 out of 11. There are another 9 stations spread around the room here, so that we can have 11 operators operating at the same time.
I noticed that your slides, they were branded ICOM as well. So are you an ICOM man? Is this I know your company, DX Engineering, that you sell probably most of the brands, but is ICOM your personal favorite?
Right now it is. ICOM is, I really think that the radio that, I try them all. I try every one of the radios when they come out. And for a while, I had some Yaesu equipment. Back in the 90s, I had Kenwood equipment. But right now, the ICOM 7851 that we use here is what I think is the best radio for our operation for these DX contests. Big radio, big knobs, very reliable. Never had one of them break. And we've had them here for about 5 years now, maybe coming up on 6 years. And they do quite well. So ICOM is a sponsor of Contest University, which is one of my projects as well. And so that's why you see ICOM on the slides.
Sure, okay. I mean, do you mind us just asking you briefly about your company, DX Engineering? It's a major retailer in the US, probably rather similar to Martin Lynch and Waters and Stanton and companies like that over here. How are you finding things? Has the hobby, much more interest in the past year since we've all been locked down?
Yeah, there's been a very increased interest in the hobby. People that were licensed years ago that had kind of put the amateur radio on the shelf are coming back to life. It is a hobby you can do during a pandemic, and there have been some events here in the States where people were very unsure about what was going to happen. There's been some trouble in some of the cities, and so that has caused a lot of new people to get licensed. So there's a lot of activity on the bands, and there's a lot of activity in amateur radio. We do have a partner, Martin Lynch, in the UK, and he does order stuff from DX Engineering for his customers. So, or you can order from us direct. We ship worldwide every day.
Okay, that's good to know as well. Thank you for that. Peter Bishop has come back and said he was thinking of running an earth wire from the back of each radio to a copper strip, but some scanner radios don't have a ground screw on the back like many ham ones do. So have you got any advice? If it's in a metal box, is it okay just to connect it to the case of the metal box? Do you know?
Because I'm not familiar with his receiver, I'm not going to give a recommendation because I just don't want something bad to happen. So
no, okay.
I'm just not familiar with it, David. I'm
understand.
Sorry.
That's okay. He does come back and say that he's got a DX Omni Tilt for his Hustler 6B VT, and he says it's brilliant.
Great. Well, thanks very much.
Okay. Got a question now from Ray G3XLG. Having read the book Grounding and Bonding, I fitted an aluminium sheet or aluminum sheet to on top of the desk, and then I connect the rig, amp, etc. to this aluminium sheet with very short wires. The aluminium sheet is then connected to one earth rod outside the window with maybe 6 feet of wire to the rod. This seems to work very well and has simplified grounding for me. Why did Tim in the slide show a ground plane, i.e. a sheet, and also a separate copper earthing pipe along the back, he says? That's Ray, G3XLG.
You can do it, either way is fine, just as long as you don't have a loop. I just chose to, I have the ground plane underneath the radio, and that connects to my single point ground panel. The way he is describing it, he is using the ground plane as his single point ground. So that's fine. Either way is fine.
Okay, that's good. Well, we haven't got any more questions for you, Tim, but I thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. I'm glad that things are good for you as well. I know this is in the middle of your business day as well, so we're especially appreciative of you taking time out to do this talk for us. What time is it there?
It is, let's see, coming up on 5 minutes past 3 p.m.
Right, okay, well, as I said, in the middle of your day. Thank you ever so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again sometime. Tim K3LR, okay. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and 73, everybody.
73, thank you. There we are, that's Tim K3LR from the States. And we thanks to him, and also just to remind you what's happening in Norfolk Amateur Radio Club this coming week. On Saturday, we have the Koblenz at 10 o'clock, 7.135 megahertz. On Sunday, we've got the GB2RS News on GB3NB repeater at 7 o'clock. On Monday, the 12th of April, we have the Monday Night Net with a subject of what type of youth were you? It'd be an interesting one to listen into. Also, don't forget, 8 o'clock, we've got Tonight at 8 on those nano VNAs. You might be interested in that. At 8:30, 80 metre CW net. And next Wednesday, the 14th of April, very important time for us. Every time's important, but we've got Mini NARC Live at 7:30 as usual, followed straight afterwards by the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club AGM. And we look forward to hearing any comments or anything you'd like to put in any other business. You can either drop us a line ahead of the time, or you can do it live on the night. And all the regulars and everything, all the other stories as well. We look forward to seeing you both then. All of you then, rather. Thank you very much for joining us. And I guess from Tammy M0TC.
Yeah, well, goodbye.
And from me, David G7UP, an early night for us.
Yep.
We hope to see you all next week. And don't forget to get on the air. Take care. Bye-bye.